Well, silver's and gold is holding pretty firm as the markets are crashing. Actually, one of the things I said that gold would probably hold fairly firm in the event of catastrophic problems in the markets. It depends on why there is a catastrophic problem. It could, if it's something where the Middle East had a extraordinarily big war or something like that. Well, in that case, gold would probably do very well, including oil and silver and all the metals. In the case where it's a matter of budget problems or things like that in the government, yeah, then gold could soar and maybe oil would go down along with the markets. Well, actually, what it looks like is just no economic activity. It's almost like we got a fluff economy, and actually the real economy. I'm almost thinking I'm looking at this here with the moose here. The real world is one thing where real living is going on, and you got the people that are in the suits, and you got the people in the ivory towers. They live in another world. They worship the U.S. Treasury notes and all that kind of garbage. Yeah, everybody wants money, but you almost look at the depiction I'm showing here. Money's important in some ways. Maybe you need some supplies, but then again, yeah, you could pretty much make do if you're a real homesteader. That's another thing too. That's my whole modus operandi on this channel about silver, because I'm not here to try to say do this, do that, and you're going to sit back on your lounge chair. And I'm not here for that kind of crap, because, if I wanted to play that kind of game, I'd just be working in the damn office, 100% of the time, trying to kiss people's ass that have a lot of money with a lot of clients' money and stuff, working for the big freaking money. The people I used to work for had $100 million, man. I worked directly for them as their accountant. So, if I'm going to play that game, I wouldn't be playing it on here. I'm here for the people and the genuine people and that type of stuff. So I'm going to actually comment a little more on things, because sometimes people misconstrue some things I say, or I also learned this to be very careful what to say to clients, and I guess I am being careful trying to say what the deal is when I'm on here, because when I talk about Palladium being a very good investment, I saw it went down a lot today, but I also stated, and I'm aware of this, if I had Palladium electronically, I used to have it, and I dumped it a while ago when it went up. But if I had it even electronically when it went up to 900 just last time, I would have dumped it around there. I said, screw it, I'll just take the cash. But when you have it physically, I found when I initially got my Palladium back in 2008 and 9, it was hard to get because it was below 200 spot, and then I think the last I bought was 220 spot, maybe, or 210 spot, or 200 spot, or something. And I forgot what I paid for the crap, but it wasn't much. But it moves since metals like Palladium, more than any of them, even platinum would be number 2. Platinum is about 60% industrial. Palladium is about 90% industrial. Silver's about, I think, 40% industrial or something around there. But the thing is, when the markets come down, you're going to see Palladium come down. But I also realize that if you bought Palladium at any time in the past, even if you bought it at $900, you're going to wind up making money anyway. So I don't know. Sometimes people misinterpret my happiness about the shit went up to $900. Doesn't necessarily mean. I don't know if it could have went up to $1,100. I don't know. It could have, and then went back down. But I do realize that it moves down with the markets when things move down in general. Now, gold doesn't necessarily move down with the markets. It's actually inverse with the markets many times too. But I consider Palladium to be the poor man's gold, not silver. And I think Palladium will be worth more than gold at one point in time, especially if there's major tensions in Russia. Norilsk mine is 39% of the world's world's palladium supply. That's in the northern Siberia. And I just want to mention this on this video because I've talked about a lot about palladium, and I see the prices going down now. And yeah, that bothers me, but then it doesn't bother me because I realize I knew that when these markets came down really hard, I knew that palladium would come down hard. Actually, I knew that. I was been stating that, but it's like I don't state it in every single video, and I state various things. So it's like, information is not one sentence. It's a lot of different things. But anyway, we're coming into hard times, so maybe you got to put your crash helmet on. That's what it looks like old girl here is doing. Now, my thing on this channel, though, is very unique from other people that are talking about silver. Other people are talking strictly about the markets. I realize when people have silver coinage, they are, and I'm talking about the true blue Americans. I'm not talking about people like trying to make a fast buck, trade it in, and buy a bunch of bullshit, and have fun. I'm talking about people who want to survive for the next crash that we're going to have, which is already occurring, it looks like. George Soros is actually out there on the airwaves talking about, the China's coming down, and we got a credit bubble in China, and we got problems in Europe. And George, I'm going to actually tell you a little more than a lot about what's going on and what I really think needs to happen. And the reason I'm actually bringing things out in the manner I do on this channel is because it's not just about, I talked about, it's not just like J.P. Morgan Chase or Citibank or Goldman Sachs. It's all the suits. It's all the people around them. But it's even deeper than that. It's even deeper than that. It's like people are not willing to freaking work their ass off anymore in a real way. And I'm not talking about pushing paper because, I could work my ass off for doing that shit too. But there's something wrong with that basic philosophy, to tell you the truth, or type of job. And let me say, though, that the situation in the United States is going to start changing pretty drastically now because the final step, as old girl here is looking down on her motorcycle, she's seeing what's coming up, She realizes that there is, more wear and tear on this economy than is going to be sustained. We blew all our money on, social welfare programs and different types of, pharmaceutical schemes and things like that, and whereby we have not put the money back into the infrastructure. If the United States went into these trillions of dollars of debt, by putting it into infrastructure, say we put up more roads, or say we even did the Alaskan Highway going up to Alaska, we fixed that much better, or we put high-speed trains in or whatever, and we had underground tunnels that could supply water to California, or we had more desalination plants, that wouldn't be a problem. But we basically blew the money on garbage. It's almost like somebody had a bunch of money and racked up their credit cards having vacations and parties. Not quite that bad that the government did, but that's pretty much what happened. So we're coming up in a situation whereby it's going to be a new beginning. And, the only thing I think what's going to happen in the United States, though, is there's going to be the true middle class, which is, the ones that do things on their own. They're going to survive. And I'm not talking about the middle class that are actually part of, I don't know what you want to call that word, the system or the matrix, or sometimes they use that kind of word. But, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I talked about, say, J.P. Morgan, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs or whatever. You got all those people in there, the top people, you got the lesser people, but there's all these other layers all around them. There's all these people that are actually doing business with that. They're all part of this crap, directly or indirectly. It's almost like I have more respect for the people out west that do things on their own. Like you could say the Brady Bunch or the Bundy Bunch out there, whatever they call them. That's what I'm talking about. And that is really my modus operandi about, why you should invest in silver. It's not even strictly about silver. But silver and all the metals are going to make you a lot of money, cash money. And that does not mean you're going to hold cash forever. And do not make that mistake that, oh, what are you going to do, trade it in for fiat? Yeah, well, that's going to be the freaking medium of exchange in our country for the foreseeable future, several years at least, no matter what happens, even if we have rampant inflation. And what I'm going to do is trade it in for the cash and then go to another asset, possibly real estate or machinery or even farm machinery or tractors or something. So, I do realize that the situation in the United States is actually going to change drastically on this next downturn. The last thing they talked about that's going to occur is devalue the currency. I think that's, the writing's already on the wall there. They talked about I know the Chinese government has just devalued their yuan some more, but, that ain't gonna last forever, man. They ain't gonna last forever. There's actually going to be a lot more problems because they're not going to be able to boost their exports out of China that easily. And, one of the things that's the reasons why is because the stimulus money in the United States has not gone into inflation, gone into wage stimulus for the workers. The workers are actually getting less money and they're being asked to produce more. Stimulus went into the too bigs to fail, and the too bigs to fail don't necessarily buy small goods from China. They just invest in the stock market. Now, I think obviously the too bigs to fail have already pulled out of the stock market and are on the way out. So, but I look at it like this: do not worry about this kind of shit if you got silver coinage. And these two girls on a motorcycle, they got silver coinage. And they're not worried about it because you don't have your money invested with a lying suit. Because I could tell you, even though you might be looking at, the market's going this way or that way with the silver's at $14, the silver's, I know it went up a little bit today, or the palladium's below 500 now. The platinum to gold ratio is ridiculously skewed. That's wrong. It can't stay like that forever. But the thing is, if you are dealing with a suit, if there's a problem, they're going to be like buttermilk, just like Barnhart talked about. I know the lady's pretty extreme, but she's absolutely correct. Most of these brokers, I tell you, they're like ambulance tracers or like attorneys that are ambulance chasers. They are constantly looking for new client money. They talk a good line. They grab more money. Now, you could say, oh, am I looking for views or something? I could play like 10 biggest fails or some bullshit like that and you get more views, okay? I'm actually putting out a far more responsible channel on various subjects than I think a lot of other people are. And I just, it grows because I do a lot of work on it besides actually doing other work. That's, my other job, right? But we also have problems coming up, I'm showing this here. Now, this could be me, too, except that maybe I wouldn't have I'd have the Confederate flag up there, man, because now I found I have Confederate lineage. Well, I always knew I had Confederate lineage. I just didn't know who the hell they were. Now I know who they were. But, yeah, this would be me. Bomb is another thing coming up. Actually, probably, if you really, I don't know how high Smith & Wesson stocks are in the go, but they've been going ballistic. I remember even when the silver markets crashed, I says, wow, if you ever invested in Smith & Wesson stocks, you would make a lot of money. And they did. But there's a limit to how much this crap can go up. But, I should probably put something out separate on this, but this is another thing that's coming up hot and heavy. The elite are looking for total control. Not only are they looking for total control in the financial markets, they're also looking for total control in private property through the EPA. And, like in China, like give you an example, how they have the nail houses out there? Like, in other words, the government comes by and they freaking steal everybody's land, and one of them, there's a couple people that hold out, and then they got a house in the middle of a highway or something, or middle of an industrial park, until that person can't stand living there anymore, and then they wind up selling for pennies on the dollar. Well, the government is basically controlled by the elite money powers, as you well know, or it's getting more and more like that. And, if they really, really put the screws to you, people would have the arms to back themselves up and put the screws back to, not the government, but like basically the bastards on the top, the suits that are controlling the government, the elite bastards. Because, I always look at it like this. A uniform is not a suit. They got the military and the police are in uniform. They're just doing their job. The jackasses that are controlling them through the NGOs and all this other crap are instituting a lot of these evil policies. So another way they're looking to control us besides financially is through, trying to have all the armament only in the police and the government and the military, so the people that are in the suits can control them, and they're supposed to just obey, really. I don't know if that's going to continue to be like that forever, but, we've actually came from, I'd say, the agrarian, farmer, independent republic to now we have the statist corporate grain dole government. We've totally changed in this country. But a lot of elements in this country are still strong the way they always were. And what I think, though, is that, we're going to have to, stick with, the basics. And not only on a situation where we're talking where there's, you're saying these big entities or these too big, or we even know who the names are, and we know it's all the professionals that are in on this game. But, you can even see it on a one-to-one basis. A lot of times, when it comes right down to it, there's a lot of people out there that are total buttermilk. And, you got to be willing to fight the fight when it comes down necessary. So, as far as what these markets can come down, probably quite a bit more. This was actually per the major media that the markets would probably come down quite a bit. Now, they said earlier, even in 2015, in January 2015, when they had the year starting off pretty bad in January 2015, they said that the markets would be lower, and the markets would end lower in 2015 than they started out, which they did, which I interpreted as being lower than they would be even lower yet. And I figured in September or October they would really start knocking down, but I guess maybe it's January, and that's even per a lot of the major media. Now, the same stuff that really knocked the markets down in January 2015 is still applying to today in 2016, because we have the retail sector got clobbered, except for in gun sales. Gun sales have been skyrocketing. I mean, it's like maybe you ought to open up a gun company, for crying out loud, I don't know what's involved in doing that. But that's about the only bright spot in gun sales, and that's partly due to Obama. As far as the oil industry, the fracking industry has gone way down. And also, the oil industry is a significant part of the S&P. A very significant part. When you say the oil industry, it's not just the fracking industry, it's also the oil rig industry, the oil platforms, the design and development, the engineering, the infrastructure, the whole 9 yards. It's not just, the process of extracting the oil. So the oil industry, when you have a price drop as bad as it did, that is a major slice of the S&P. In addition to the retail sales going down. So I don't really know. Well, I've already said this before, that the Baltic Dry Index is the lowest it's ever been on record, which is a good indication of what's going on globally as far as, trade and commodities. Economy stinks, and China has this massive credit bubble. They've also had to hit the automatic brakes because their markets crashed like 7% in so many minutes. That was something that just happened. So there's a lot of shit going on. And actually, this is going to lead to probably a lot of civil tension and civil strife too. It's amazing. Like, a lot of people are going out there and they just rack up their charge cards to go on vacations and have fun, and they don't think about tomorrow. And they, if there's a problem, I noticed even when I went to the supermarket, Yesterday I looked in there and I says, wow, these beef burgers went up like 30%. Now I don't really, it's not a lot of money because it's 30% of a small amount of money. But I noticed that and I said to myself, well, that's something I could see already happening. The price of food, there's inflation in the price of food. That should be affecting the consumer price index, but we know how that changes and how they use the principle of substitution to finagle the numbers. But anyway, they're looking to actually take away all our freedoms, and true Americans are fighting back. So, if you want to buy a handgun that shoots shotgun shells, go right ahead. So, anyway, I think, though, the time for the elite in America is probably running short. Because you notice that, well, first off, a lot of these big conglomerations are laying off a lot of people. I should maybe diverge here a second because I can't believe how some of these decisions are made on some of these corporations like Yahoo, Marissa, the freaking places like billions of dollars in the red, and she threw a Great Gatsby-style party for Christmas that cost $6 million. They're going to lay off 10% of their force, but that's been going on in Wall Street for a while now too. There's been a lot of layoffs in the banks, the major banks, and a lot of the the Wall Street crowd that's going on because the underlings will go first. They'll nail them first. They're not going to, the ones on the top. They're always, if they get out of something, that probably the end is near. And actually, the end has been near a lot of times. We've seen a lot of indications because of the number of deaths and suicides and things that have happened amongst the banker elite over the last 2 or 3 years. It's like a slow process, and I guess a lot of people are jumping ship, or they're jumping ship literally out of life, for crying out loud, because they realize, there's major problems coming up, and maybe they know the major problems that are coming up, and other people don't want them around because they know too much. So, but all these problems can be fixed overnight because you got to really look at the task at hand at an individual basis. I gave the example of, I gave an example before to somebody about, Hillary Clinton, say, for instance, she's supported by the Wall Street too bigs to fail and all that type of stuff, and the $112 million, that's the girl. She does have major health problems. She has some blackouts and stuff like that. She might not make it because of that, and she might be charged criminally within the next 90 days. But I can tell you that the problems we have in our financial system are not just the top people. It's across the board because everybody makes these small decisions and they become sellouts. That's one reason I'm not, playing around in the accounting field so much because those people really disgust me. They're garbage. They're worms. When you have, like, the situation, even like, say, with Hillary Clinton and, all the stuff she's gotten away with, there's been many, many, many people that maybe protested or said something, but they didn't go far enough. And when you're looking at the people on the top that gave her all the money, you got all these other people in different layers around them that kissed her ass. And even when you're looking at the type of people that support Hillary Clinton, and I'm not saying support Jeb Bush because I hate the Bushes, they're garbage too. I mean, we got crap all the way around. These yo-yos conservatives support them. But, it's usually like the guy that's, a pussy whip, cook old dork that has a lot of money, and he's got a daughter that supports Hillary Clinton, and maybe he's a conservative. There's loads of that shit around. I've seen it many, many times. And they actually create this shit because they're wimps. I'm just putting it to you point blank. So, like me, I could tell you one thing. I've been a person that actually, you can't be stupid about saying too much, but I will say stuff, and I will do stuff. And I'll fix shit. I'll fight the crap. But you can't just freaking blatantly fight it, like jump out there and take 20 bullets or some shit. You know, you can't be playing that kind of game. But most people, they just look for how can I get more money. And if you noticed, I'm not playing that kind of game. You know, I'm like classic as this Thunderbird, which is a 63 or something like that. You know, I stick with the old school rules and the old school ways. And that might have been a car back when JFK was president. So, you know, you got to be somewhat radical and not be a conservative. Maybe somewhat radical like this crazy freaking piped motorcycle here, chopper with the wild pipes in the back. But at the same time, you got to stick with your basic values and think outside. But you got to still think outside the box. And, you know, by you holding silver coinage, you are going against the grain of every single suit out there. They will maybe say, oh, that's okay, or maybe we have silver coinage you could hold in their safes or some shit under a fund. But by and large, they don't want you to do that because they're not going to make any money off you. So you're breaking out of the matrix by owning silver coinage. And I know people have been looking at this silver coinage and now the palladium going down and all that kind of garbage, which, you know, it could or couldn't. I mean, it's like, you know, one thing could change the world radically. If there's one blow up in the Middle East, if there's a budget crisis in the United States where they can't get a budget approved, or something catastrophic happens politically, the whole landscape changes overnight. And there's a lot of things that are very much unpredictable. But the point is that you own the money. Not somebody else isn't watching it for you. You own the money. So that's an important consideration. And you actually are a radical, just as radical as this lady sitting on the chopper with the wild pipes. You're a radical. You are not, you know, I know they're like talking like silver's the old money, but you are a radical. You are a radical by doing this. So I'd like people to hold firm on this thing, and I was always saying that. And people, sometimes they get mad and say, oh, yeah, I should have bought it this and that. Well, you know what? It really is unpredictable to the max as far as in the short term. They don't call it the devil's metal for nothing. But I do know the basic principles as far as, you know, which metals are more industrial than others, and they'll move with the markets more. As far as, like, if oil goes into a freaking extreme bull run, yeah, we'll have, you know, we'll have metals prices go way the hell up, especially gold and silver. And if we have major tensions with Russia, or there's problems in South Africa, you'll see platinum and palladium go way the hell up, independent of the other metals. But how do you know that? How do you know that? But I have to say that I do think that platinum is going to return to its 1.4 to 1 ratio with gold. And when actually things are normal, it's actually 2 to 1 a lot of times, not even 1.4 to 1. And palladium is more rare than platinum. I know there's more of it being recycled, but most of it's not recycled. It's going to go up beyond the price of gold at one point in time. It should outperform platinum. But then it may not stay in that area, but you're probably going to get an area at one point in time where it's going to be significantly more than gold. So no matter how you look at it, you'll win out eventually. But that's the way these metals are. But, you know, I didn't think palladium was a great buy at $900 or anything like that. But then again, it's difficult to say. Because I knew that when the markets crashed, which I expected to happen, that palladium would crash too. But then again, it's not easy to get. I found that out too. When palladium's really low, it's difficult to get. Now, one of the things we're also going to have to worry about, and I tell you, this is something where I think silver may have a lot more demand in the future, is using it for colloidal silver, and also in not just colloidal silver, but medicinal purposes, also in a lot of disinfectant purposes. There could be a whole new industry out there that could be taking root because the pharmaceutical industry has gotten out of hand, and they've actually destroyed their customer base by a lot of the crap they've been doing. They've been feeding us poison for years. And I know there's other things out there like vitamin C, which is a powerful hormone, and also vitamin D, which is a powerful hormone. And you got to watch with vitamin D that you take enough vitamin K2 with it. You just don't take a lot of vitamin D. But as far as an essential trace metal that can benefit the body and knock out a lot of microbes, silver is very important. And could you imagine if everybody in this country, every family in this country, say there was 100 million families, bought an ounce of silver just to keep on hand to make all the colloidal silver in the world they need? No, but you see, it's not being done. It's surprising that it's not being done either. It's very surprising it's not being done. But that alone would freaking drive the price of silver up to this astronomical price because due to demand. You think not much silver is used in making colloidal silver, but the whole planet doesn't own a freaking ounce of silver, and there's definitely not even an ounce of silver to go around. That alone could freaking drive the price up. And there's something else I talked about. I think it's called Argentum sterling silver. It's like a type of sterling silver that has something else in it besides copper that never tarnishes, and it works better than white gold. And so in that case, that could create a much higher demand for jewelry using silver. But I don't understand why they're not doing this and pushing this, because it seems that I'm not in charge of this deal where, if I was actually running some major silver brokerage, hedge fund or something, I would be pushing silver from a lot of other different angles than just having some suits go out there and talk about, the dollar decline and all this other shit. I'd actually push, the way to really push the demand for silver is through colloidal silver and argentum jewelry. But even without that happening, there's going to be a major spike in the silver prices when we have a major blow up in the Middle East, because our president, Barack Obama, otherwise known as Neville Chamberlain II, who made the deal with Adolf Hitler, he's made the deal with Iran, and you know how that's going to occur. It's going to lead to a bigger conflict than needs be, because we needed to actually take out Iran a long time ago and stop their nuclear program cold, because they're cheating again. And I know people are talking, they can't stand Israel and all this kind of garbage, but Iran is not our friend either, and neither is Saudi. Neither one of them are. And what could possibly happen is, there might be I think it's already going on. There's a nuclear arms race going on behind the scenes in the Middle East between Saudi and Iran. I think Saudi's got nukes. I think Iran's got nukes. When it goes up, oil can go right through an unimaginable height, and it'll send gold and silver to an unimaginable height. And you know what that's going to do? It's going to be like a crushing blow to the middle class. And you're going to be like this kitty cat trying to go through the snow, trying to keep your head above water, if you don't have all your ducks in line, not only by silver coinage, but also by, everything else you need to survive. I put some of the stuff out about these kerosene heaters. Like, I don't need to run these things. I'm just messing around with them. But, yeah, they're pretty handy, man. I mean, like, freaking really cheap heat. I figure save $1 here, $1 there, what the hell. But it's kind of fun. It's more fun to actually use those things. But, having something like that, say, for instance, there's catastrophic problems in the economy and energy prices are going way up, and you have brownouts in the middle of the winter. Well, if you have brownouts in the middle of the winter, maybe you're not going to have heat. But if you have kerosene heaters, you're fine. So like I said, on this channel, I don't actually emphasize one thing. And I think health is actually the number one thing, because we'll see how... I should be getting that Spooky Central device fairly soon, probably in about less than a week. And we're going to be putting some videos out on that, and we'll see how that works. And I'm going to tell you more about how the Rife technology works. But in the meantime, sit tight, because a lot of the things we talked about in the past are starting to bear, weight. And I know people are looking at some of the dollar value of all the silver and all this kind of stuff. There's major shortages out there. Don't let them fool you. And even though the silver prices have been dropping, J.P. Morgan Chase has still been accumulating more and more silver. Everybody's going to make out. But do not look at that currency crap as much as, what your next move is going to be. And, on the flip side of things, if you make a lot of money on something, you wind up having to pay a lot of tax on it too. And that in itself feeds the evil system. Because most of your tax money goes to corrupt politicians that give to the too bigs to fail in the first place. To me, I think hopefully if there's a barter system set up with silver after it goes way up, that people make exchanges for goods because silver's not money, right? It's not money. You're just doing you're just doing an exchange. I mean, I don't see why anybody, because it's not, our dollars aren't redeemable in silver coinage. It's not money. It wouldn't be illegal. So if somebody traded some clothes for some car parts, or somebody traded some lumber for some, paintings or something, it's the same type of deal. But I think there should be a market set up at one point in time, that something like an eBay exchange with silver, whereby you can buy stuff directly. This way you don't have to cash it in and pay these exorbitant taxes for what? Because they'd screwed up and destroyed the value of the dollar. You need to be penalized? No, I think that's ridiculous. And it would not be illegal if you went ahead and did that. You just did some type of exchange of assets. That's all that is. Because silver only was money for a very brief period of time. And the way I look at it, it's going to be an asset class. It's going to move up faster than other asset classes, and I don't see why you need to change it into the U.S. Treasury notes to get taxed and penalized because you've been patient enough to hold it for the period of time. And I don't see why anybody needs to be penalized to pay suits to figure out all the forms and all those other garbage. So anyway, maybe you could trade some silver for some guns, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Or ammo. Actually, I'll tell you the truth. I think ammunition is probably going to be a very, very smart thing to invest in. Because Mr. Obama is talking about biometrics on ammunition and stuff. That's not going to be very easily to change right away. But, once they have some breakthrough technology, a lot of stuff can change. You never know. I personally think that the situation in the United States has gotten so bad that it's not just good enough to send the top people to prison. They need to be tried and executed under the 1950, I forgot what you call that, Sedition Act that they passed against like traitors and communists, and executed. And then go right down from there into the layers and go pretty deep, because it's not that we just have some of the people on the top that are doing this stuff. We actually have a malignant cancerous tumors throughout the nation with tentacles. They need to be uprooted and destroyed completely. Then we'll be okay. But right for now, that type of stuff is too big for us. You know what I mean? Where you can actually make a difference is in your own personal decisions. If you are buying silver on principle, stay with that. You don't have to put all your money into something, but the thing is, you will be sitting in a good situation, and I think the people that are going to be sitting in a bad situation are the ones that are beholden to, I guess you call it the matrix. Even though I don't like using that word. I guess it's for lack of a better word. Because when you're talking about like J.P. Morgan, Citibank, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and all that, yeah, you got those people and you got all their underlings, but you have everybody else that's attached to them, which is a lot. There's a lot of brokerage houses dealing with them. There's a lot of individuals that are dealing with them. And herein lies the problem. So if all those people get screwed, too bad. If you are a real asset holder, you have silver, you have motorcycles, or whatever the hell it is, you're going to be okay. I know you're looking at the money side of it right now, and yes, that's true, but I look at it like this. Hopefully, when silver goes up very high in currency, yeah, you might have to trade it for the currency to get another asset, but hopefully there might be something set up that could be a barter exchange whereby you trade silver for land, you trade silver for machinery or equipment or whatever. And this way, it's just an asset exchange, and there's no currency involved, there's no U.S. Treasury notes involved, and there's no money involved because, according to the U.S. government, silver's not money, right? Well, that's in some ways the U.S. government shoots themselves in the foot too. You understand? So anyway, been kind of lengthy on this, but I want to actually present a lot of different points, and I think the markets are probably going to go. I think where the markets might wind up eventually is 9,000, but years from now they'll pass 20,000. But when they pass 20,000, we're probably going to have quite a bit of a devaluation in the dollar. And there's a lot of stuff going on. I probably need to put it up in separate videos because there's too much to explain in one thing. I realize the games that Obama is doing, I see these things exactly. And it's not just him. He didn't think this stuff up. The guy's not that stupid. He's not stupid, but he's not that smart. He's not really stupid, but I'm saying is he's acting out what he's supposed to do. That's all it is. That's all it is. And the people that put these people in office, you get what you deserve. Me, in my case, I voted for Gary Johnson. Now, I know I probably would have rather had Romney than Obama, but, it was kind of like a protest vote. But, when you're looking at the big targets out there, you can't hit them. You'd like to be able to hit them, but the problem is you're going to have to freaking look, closer to home at what's going on. And a lot of times the people that are superfluous, the people that are actually spending all their freaking money on garbage and vacations and entertainment and just frittering away the time, these are the people that are actually the problem of the nation. And, no matter what you do, as long as you're staying busy and you're staying productive and you're sticking with true things, you're part of the solution. So it might be a lot of little efforts by a lot of people across the board that's going to change everything. And don't get wrapped up too much in, the too bigs to fail or what's going on in a big aggregate, because some of that stuff is actually beyond your control completely. What you can control is your own little world. And, if you feel bad that you bought silver at, 25, or you feel bad that you bought palladium at 800, 900, whatever the hell it is, that is bad, but you don't want to, if you spent that money elsewhere, you might not have anything to show for it, period. And it will play out. The metals have always been psychologically the toughest thing to hold. As far as palladium, I didn't really think that was a buy at 900 because I was thinking, I wish I had that shit electronically. I would have dumped it. I didn't want to dump the metals physically because I know they're hard to get when they go down. Silver is not that damn hard to get when you go down. Palladium is hard to get when you went down. I remember I had a hard time getting that shit cheap a while back, and it was a pain in the ass, man. And hopefully I didn't get screwed on that deal, man. I don't know, man. That's another thing, you know. Maybe I got some fake palladium. I don't think so, though. It's a little. I got it from the good place, you know. But you know, if you have all your money in one area, that's another dangerous thing. You know, people putting all their money into silver, even if it's going up like crazy. Because at one point in time, you're going to gamble one extra time, and it's going to crash, and you'll be caught. The metals are the most volatile thing going. They're the most high risk, possibly high reward thing. They've always been that way. That is why most people steer away from them. But like I said, the beauty of this is that you're not part of their corrupt system because you're not investing in an electronic metal fund. You're investing in real coinage. Big difference. Because I think that when the crap does go up, I don't think a lot of these funds can be trusted. I know you heard this many times before, but Ann Barnhart, I think she's absolutely right about that. But you'll see plenty of people that are in suits and ties, that are brokers and all this kind of stuff, talking about, oh, yeah. They're bullshit too, man. They're just looking for you to invest some of your money, your money with them, so they get a fee off of it. It's not even in the realm of doing a video at all. It's like they get a serious fee off that. And I realize that fee is likely coming from the base asset itself. So this is the most fair and square way I can actually give you the information without, charging people or anything like that. So what can I tell you? The best I can do. So over and out, and don't worry about this shit. It looks like it's playing out pretty much as expected.